ABC Sunday.
Your favorite stars are ready for their close-up when Celebrity Jeopardy comes to prime time. Hosted by me, Mayim Bialik.
America's favorite quiz show is looking to the stars.
It's the OG Jeopardy with celebrities. The brightest one will win $1 million for charity. Let's hope they've been reading more than screenplays.
Mayim Bialik hosts Celebrity Jeopardy! Series premiere Sunday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Empire.
Welcome to the training camp opening edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Carl Alzer. I'm AP Hacker and Steve Wino. I am live from above the ice at MedStar Capitals Iceplex. Caps had their first on-ice sessions of training camp today. Skate test today, which I know probably wasn't your favorite time of life, Carl. TJ Oshie skipped the skate test, had an upper body procedure that I'm sure you knew about, that we didn't know about in the offseason, that they say he's fine, he's going to be on the ice for practice. Obviously, no Nick Backstrom, no Tom Wilson, which we knew. Carl Hagelin dealing with a lower body injury that Brian McClellan, unrelated to the eye, that Brian McClellan said is going to be long term. But we have a starting. This team has a starting goaltender, a no doubter in Darcy Kemper, a no doubt coach in Peter Laviolette. Alex Ovechkin is back. Apparently, crushed it in the skate test. Just your initial thoughts on this team opening camp.
It's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on, Carl.
Oh man. Interesting about the Hagelin thing. I'm curious what happened there.
Apparently, it was a lingering injury, not something new, because he was flying around in scrimmages and stuff out here.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. A guy that skates the way he does, a lower body injury is not something that's going to help him out very much. So that's very unfortunate. Skate test. Brutal, but also one of the things that me and Biggs trained together was something we always prepared for. Kind of mentally and physically. We knew how much of a grind the test was and how frustrating it was for so many people. So we always made sure that we were either in good shape so that we could be towards the top, but also making it seem like we were in better shape than we actually were. And that was always part of our plan. Never keeled over, hands on, resting on your pants like a lot of guys do, or down on one knee. It was supposed to always just be win the mental grind as well. And so that was what we always tried to do. But you get to really see who the guys who are really great skaters, how good they can do at this stuff. And then the guys that just seem to have to battle through. Like I remember Ovi having to do it the one time where I don't know if maybe he didn't understand the format, but he went so fast on his first rep that he was like half a zone in front of the next closest person. And then he was like maybe third or fourth on the next rep, and then last for all the ones after that.
Because he would just blow all the energy.
Oh, he was all done, which is kind of the way he plays on the ice too. So I guess why change anything? But it was pretty funny. So yeah, it's a tough day, because then it kind of sets the tone for the rest of camp. And sometimes your body can't recover fast enough. Your hips are really bad after that. So it's a bit of a tough one. Like we talked about last time, when you're when you're a veteran guy, you don't necessarily worry about those things as much as you do when you're, coming in as maybe a free agent or a PTO or a young player. So it's a weird one, but man, there's a lot of stuff going on with this team right now, and no shortage of news, it sounds like.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Nick Backstrom and the Tom Wilson injuries and prognosis and everything later. We'll hear from both of those guys. But I want to start with my takeaway on Carl Hagelin is I don't think we see him play hockey this season. And that's just based on Brian McClellan saying this is a long-term injury. Even with the eye, let's take the eye out of it. It just doesn't seem like this guy in the last year of his contract that we're going to see him. And the roster does kind of fit together without a Carl Hagelin. If you remember that Marcus Johansson re-signed, which is pronounced Johansson again, apparently. Marcus Johansson, it could slot in on that fourth line left wing in Hagelin's old spot.
Yeah, I don't know the details about it, but his injury last year was, I think, significant enough that you don't really want to risk going out there and not being able to see perfectly, right? Like you gotta be so careful on the ice. If you're, yeah, if you don't have great vision, then it's hard to play the game. So just having that and then something else kind of on top of it probably makes it a little bit easier for the team to say, hey, like let's pump the brakes. There's no point. But as a player and a warrior, you don't want to ever hear that. So I'm curious how he's feeling all about that. But yeah, a long-term injury, that's not what you want to hear in training camp.
Sure. The other kind of big takeaway today was, as much as everyone misses Yusem Sonov and Vitek Vanacek, that having a solid Stanley Cup winning goaltender again, there's just a calm and ease about not. John Carlson told us, like, well, it's not my job, it's not my decision. Like, I do everything in front, but there's a certain calm to knowing who your goalie is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same thing with any position, like you don't want to have to go in every game and not knowing if you're in the lineup or out of the lineup as a defenseman or as a forward or anything. There needs to be some consistency and chemistry, and I understand having to do that for a goalie that needs rest. You only want them to play so many games, but to do it because you just based off of playing merit and it's hard for them to get into a groove. That sucks for the player, and it sucks for the team as well, even though, it is somewhat easy to change your style depending on the goalie. You just don't want to have to do that. So yeah, I think every team in the league has a number one. Maybe there's a couple that'll split time.
Or a few, yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, you need your number one, as makes the most sense.
Yeah, and look, we'll have some more Darcy Kemper conversation later. I spoke with him in Vegas last week, and he said he likes to play a lot of games. I wouldn't be surprised he plays 60 games this year.
Yeah, if he likes to play, let him play.
He wants to play.
Yeah, if he'll tell you if he's not feeling good or if his body needs something or take a couple practices off. Like, there's a lot of goalies that'll come in and stand in the net for practice if they need him to, or a lot of call-ups and all that stuff. So if he wants to play and that's the way he feels best, then yeah, let the guy go.
Guys seem to like your boy Charlie Lindgren too already.
I'm not surprised one bit. Yeah, I'm telling you, he's a great guy to have around, and he is a really good goalie. So I'm hoping we get to see him to play a bunch. But yeah, I mean, if Kemper wants to play all the games, then maybe not so much. But they'll enjoy having him in practice, and he battles hard. So he's one of those guys that's fun to have. It's like when we had Holtz in there and battling, trying to save every single puck and not let any rebounds in. Chuck is kind of like that.
In practice? In
practice, yeah. He'll still make some acrobatic saves. And maybe he's different now that he's getting a little bit older, but he was like that for sure.
Yeah, I see. Still has the mustache too, so I think that's very popular among teammates. When we come back on All's Caps, we're going to hear from Nick Backstrom, talk about kind of his optimism, Brian McClellan's maybe a little bit less optimism about Backstrom being able to return this season, but I don't know. I feel a whole lot better about it after talking to Nick this morning at MedStar. When we come back, we'll talk about that and later get into Tom Wilson's rehab from that torn ACL.
When was the last time you replaced the air filter in your HVAC? You should replace it every 3 months. Luckily, FilterBuy is here to help. They have over 600 sizes to choose from online, and most orders ship free to your home or office within 24 hours. Plus, all the filters are made in the USA, so you can worry less about pollen and dirt and toxins in the air and breathe freely with FilterBuy. Order now at filterbuy.com.
This episode is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. DirecTV Stream is your home for football this season because it's the best way to catch the games you won't want to miss. And with the DirecTV Stream Sports Hub, you can follow your favorite teams and track scores all in one place. That means more ways to follow the biggest hits, drives, and wins this season. So many you may need your own touchdown dance. So get your sports together and get your TV together at DirecTV.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
I think I'm going to start off by saying I'm pain-free. No more pain that I had before, and feeling good. I'm in the gym, working out, doing my rehab. I mean, so far so good.
How realistic do you think it is that you're going to play this season?
Me personally, I'm very optimistic, and I'm very optimistic that I'm going to play before the season ends.
That was Nick Backstrom on the first day of Capitals training camp. This is All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Hagelin. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. Obviously, Nick Backstrom not on the ice, but he's saying about how he can tie his shoes now and play with his kids and pick up socks. There was a certain kind of newfound optimism now after talking to Nick Backstrom, and I know you weren't here to get a chance to hear that, but just hearing that and kind of seeing the way he is about this gives me a whole different feeling about Nick Backstrom's future NHL career.
Yeah, I think if you go from not being able to do day-to-day activities and walking around with a limp, you're probably pretty down on everything and your chances. And then all of a sudden everything is back. There's definitely reason to be optimistic, right? And he knows his body. He knows what it feels like to feel good and where it needs to be in order to perform. And he hasn't obviously put it under the stress of playing or practicing even, but at least he's feeling that he's right there. So that or maybe not right there, but he's on track.
He's on track.
Be there.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. And then coming from a different perspective as a GM or a trainer or anything like that, going into it, no one's ever come back from an operation like this. So you can't really be overly optimistic, right? You got to kind of think, well, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, right? And so it's two completely different sides of the spectrum, and I can understand both of them. But if Nick feels like he's doing really well and better than expected, at least better than he was told he was going to be, then I think that's a pretty damn good sign.
It is, and Brian McClellan, I don't want to say threw cold water on it, but definitely pumped the brakes on. We don't know if he can skate the way he used to skate, right? Like the fact that he can walk and feels good. He hasn't gotten back on the ice yet, and it is kind of like, let's wait to see it happen. And we're kind of having this debate in the Caps media room of like, when do you think Nick's going to play? When do you think Tom's going to play? We'll get to that on Tom later, but to Nick, I could see him playing in the second half of the year, but there is a little bit of caution on pump the brakes from Brian McClellan on just, you're right, no one's come back from this. Andy Murray did this for tennis, but that's not put on ice skates.
Yeah, well, and it's the thing too, it's like, if it was, I got an example of someone telling you that they're going to take you to play Augusta, and you're like, okay, sweet. When's it going to happen? Oh, it'll happen at some point. I'll let you know. So you tell all your buddies, oh, I'm going to go play Augusta. It's going to be so sweet. I just don't know when yet. And then they ask you, well, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Oh, I don't know. And then you got to always answer that question. So, why not go after it the other way and say, look, chances are slim. We don't think it's going to happen, or we'll have to just wait and see. And it kind of, like you said, it puts water on the fire. So that's spoken like a true GM, someone who knows that there's no reason to kind of blow things up right now. So I understand that, but I'm so hopeful that he can come back and skate. He's smart enough that he doesn't have to be skating, skate like the wind to be successful but ideally, you want him to be doing that. So we'll wait and see, but I'm just happy that he's able to function again.
Me too, and my hot take is I think when Nick comes back, just from feeling pain-free, which you say he's pain-free now, I think he's going to be maybe not as great as he was before, but he doesn't need to be a great skater to do the things he does well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Take away some of the pressure of him having to be the guy in the penalty kill, be the guy up and down the ice all the time, for 20 minutes a game. Throw him out there on the power play for skating pucks in and controlling the puck on the half wall, and then minimize the damage the rest of the game. I mean, you still take a guy like that, any team does. So they have Kuzi for some of the other stuff. So yeah, it's Nick is versatile like that. He can kind of do whatever they need him to do.
It sounds like the Nick Backstrom fill-in plan is some combination of Connor McMichael, Lars Eller, and Dylan Strome. One of those guys has to play on the wing, and the line Brian McClellan made was training camp and exhibition games are going to matter. I have my opinion about how this is going to shake out, but it feels like the Caps have some options here.
What's your opinion?
My opinion is opening night, Connor McMichael is the second-line center, Dylan Strome is on his wing, and Lars Eller is the third-line center. I just think Dylan Strome, given what he can do and some of the limitations, is better off on wing. I know Peter Laviolette loves Connor McMichael in the middle. Lars Eller prefers to be in the middle. And if you put Anthony Mantha with Lars Eller, which worked a little bit last season, you can mix and match a few things along the way, but I think that's where you start.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, it's nice. I think it'd be nice to give McMichael some more opportunity, give him a really good sample size with good line mates. Not saying that ones he's played with aren't, but top end guys that you can see if there's a bond there, and I think he's due for that opportunity. And then I mean, Lars has been a third line center for a long time. Let him thrive in that role that he has thrived in for so many years. And then as we know, we got to bring in some young guys every single year to step up. And then you made some deals this summer for a reason, brought guys in, so put him in those spots and see what happens. But Nick Backstrom is a player that is only replaced by committee. There isn't a replacement for Nick Backstrom. So figure out the best way to work those lines and then see if it's the right recipe.
Yeah, and this is why whenever I talk about the offseason, I think Brian McClellan did exactly right in terms of setting this team up for success without Nicholas Backstrom, without Tom Wilson. When we come back on All's Caps, we're going to talk about the Tom Wilson rehab, maybe ahead of schedule, at least on schedule from this torn ACL. Connor Brown, a little bit of what the Capitals have planned in Tom Wilson's absence for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season.
I'm an adventurous person, but I'm also a careful person. We want to get out there, but we also want to make sure we're safe and our loved ones are safe. Good thing there's the OnStar Guardian app. Safety services right on our phone. We can get roadside assistance. We can share locations with friends and family. We can even get help in a crash in any vehicle on any motorcycle. Finally, something both sides of me can agree on. Adventure safely with the OnStar Guardian app. Download today from the App Store or on Google Play. Be safe out there.
This episode is brought to you by Samsung. Unfold the all-new Galaxy Z Fold 4 and expand your world. With Flex Mode, it stands on its own, so you're hands-free to get more done during calls. And with multi-window view, you can use up to 3 apps at the same time. Plus, the edge-to-edge screen allows you to fully immerse yourself in your favorite games and shows. Visit Samsung.com to learn more about Galaxy Z Fold 4.
I think it's one of those things where, you can be ahead of schedule, but you still need to wait. Like, it's kind of a weird mental one that way, because you got to let the injury heal itself. And just like the science and the research and everything on all this stuff is saying, you got to wait and do it once and not. So I feel good. I feel like I've kind of been ahead of schedule per se since kind of day one. But that really doesn't mean much, unfortunately. Obviously, I want to be as good as I can every day, but you still gotta wait.
Mentally, how has it been? I mean, you're not out on the ice, you're kind of watching everyone.
Yeah, like I think mentally I've been trying my hardest just to, take a bit of a break and allow my body and my mind to get a little bit of it. Like, the one silver lining is the rest of your body can heal up. You can take some time to, get a bit of a mental break. During the summer, at least I was trying to do that a little bit and just focus on my knee and focus on my rehab. But obviously, as you get back around the rink and stuff, it gets more difficult when you're seeing the guys skating and playing and stuff. So I'll just try and be a good teammate, be around and hang with the guys and just keep getting better and take it kind of day by day.
That was Tom Wilson on his kind of injury rehab from the torn ACL. This is All's Caps former Capitals defenseman Carl Hagelin. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. It feels to me like Tom Wilson is ahead of schedule, Carl, but that they're almost artificially going to have to hold him back from playing. And the things we keep hearing is something like mid-December.
Yeah, well, I think he said it with the science, right? Like there is better science, than there has been. It always seems to be evolving, and they know how to treat the injuries better and heal guys faster. But at the same time, time is still, the best thing in the end. Give your body enough time to get where it needs to be, and then start to push it a little bit to see if it can excel, right? So there is 0 point of pushing an injury like this. He said it himself too. Again, do it one time, do it right, and that's unfortunately what you have to do, and don't push it. It's halfway through the season, right? It's not a playoff injury. It's not something that
right.
that you need. It's not do or die. So I think that it's totally fine. Not surprised that he feels as good as he does. And we've said this, that he's a guy that's in really good shape and has lots of access to good people, whether it's the Caps staff or the staff in Toronto. Toronto has a lot of really good really good people in the medical field and training field there that we know he works with. So yeah, it is zero surprise that he's ahead of schedule, but let's all, same thing with Nick, we pump the brakes and we let him get back to feeling good. But I know everyone will be excited when they start seeing him out there practice.
Yeah, and it was wacky because he was telling us that when he actually hurt the knee, he was able to jump around and everything off the ice, and everything felt fine. And the trainers were basically like, you shouldn't be able to do this on a torn ACL. And so he felt fine until he got on the ice, and the motion of skating, it just didn't work. I mean, like, as much as he wanted to come back last plus, it was never going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird injuries like that when you get on the ice, they don't necessarily feel right. Or, I always say, like, when we had like a sprained ankle or a broken bone in the foot and just walking sucked. But as soon as it gets in that boot,
right,
you have a little bit more protection in there and it's braced and you can do a few things. But yeah, when you're off the ice, and it can go both ways. It seems like that's what it was for him, but it's a skating motion is not something normal. So it can put a little bit of extra strain on certain muscles. So I felt that today when I was trying to do a jump lunge, a groin, like a side lunge. And I'm like, oh, this is not a normal position anymore. You gotta really work your way into it. So yeah, he has to beat the mental game here. Like he said it himself, it's messing with him to sit out as long as he's going to have to, but look, it's part of the injury.
And he's signed long term. Like you don't want to screw up this guy's career to rush him back for a mid-December game.
Yeah, tell the player that. That's the hard thing.
But you know what? And you know this. A lot of this is protecting you guys from yourselves.
Yes, you have to.
Right? Like, and especially on concussion stuff. I mean, the NFL has a concussion protocol. The NHL does too. That you might feel right, but if you're not right, you're going to do more harm to yourself long term than good.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, and it's just so hard to look long term though.
Of course,
you're so worried that someone's going to take your spot. You're going to come back and you're not going to be the same player. So you just don't want to miss the time. Like there's so many different things that you have to battle through mentally as well as physically when you have an injury and a significant injury. So it's like I played with one guy in particular who you couldn't say anything to him. He was gonna play with an injury, and he was also one of them. But we knew it was going to mess him up, and he just didn't care. It was I belong on the ice and I don't belong in the trainer's room. So here I go again. And next thing you know, injury again. Next thing you know, injury again. And it's some guys are like that, and it's hard to talk them into doing something. But it's you hope they make the right decision.
Right. Okay. So I know you got baseball to coach. So we'll stop after this. But I know the thing I'm looking forward to seeing in training camp and exhibition is how that second line center thing shapes out. Where's Strome? Where's McMichael? All that. Is there anything you are looking for out of training camp and exhibition games as things get started here?
Yeah. Not really. Because I know
it's an old team, right? Like it's a veteran team. There's not a whole lot of jobs up for grabs. I mean, we love Hendrix Lapierre and all of those things, but like there's not jobs up for grabs on this team.
Yeah, and like Max said, the games do matter, but they matter just to kind of see where guys fit in on the ice and stuff like that. I don't know, because I've been through exhibition games before, and you're just trying to get through the games. Like you're right. Not, you're not even going full tilt in these games. So I guess the thing I'm most looking forward to is just the building being open and ice being in there and some games being played. But otherwise not really. I want to see after. The however many exhibition games, I want to see right before the last exhibition game what the lineup is like. And, the second last one is usually a good one as well, because you can see where guys are starting to slot in with their line mates and the last two where you can see the lineup starting to take shape. But then after that, once you start getting into the lines in practice and the team is there, that's what I'm looking forward to. Now that the skate test is over and the
right.
and the gym stuff is over, then the rest of it's just kind of relaxed until season starts.
Well, we got less than 3 weeks until opening night, October 12th against the Boston Bruins, and the games count for real. None of this exhibition crap, actual games. Carl, good to talk to you again, and thanks to everybody listening on All Caps.